What's good, peeps? It's your boy Eduard Todor. So last week I competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You guys know I already do that. It was a regional tournament, so nothing crazy, but I came away with my first win. There we go. You can see the actual medal. So that feels pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I've made a video before where I coached my friend in one of his tournaments at white belt. If you guys remember that video. And it's pretty good to come away with a win myself this time, right? He won that tournament, so now I go on this. This is great. So I got the footage for you guys. I think it's pretty cool. I ended up submitting every single opponent, so that's pretty interesting. After the tournament on Monday, my coach surprises me with one of these. It looks kind of blue on camera, but I promise it's purple. So purple belt, if you don't train, you have no idea what that means. You're probably like, it's not a black belt, who gives a shit? But if anyone who trains, you know purple belt's a big deal. It takes a long time to get it compared to, you know, any other sport, any other martial art. And when I started, there's no way I thought I would ever get one. I mean, I started and I was like, the blue belts were just smashing me. And I was like, man, if I can get as good as that one day, that would be absolutely insane. That would exceed my expectations beyond anything. And then I got a blue belt and now the purple belts were smashing me as bad as the blue belt smashed me at white belt. And I'm like, shit, like... You know, and then I just kept training. I just kept going, and eventually I came away with one of these, which is nuts. I honestly can't believe I have one. Like, it's crazy. And now I guess I gotta just get smashed by the brown belt. So, it's a never-ending cycle. All right, without further ado, let's get into the competition footage and check out my tournament. All right, so here is the first match of the day. This guy was actually a guy from my club, from a different gym though, but same club. And here we're grip fighting. I'm trying to work that left opposite side collar, and see over there, like I don't know. I don't really even know what I was trying to do here, honestly. I try to pull him down. I try to do a collar drag, which is a takedown, but at this point I should have known it doesn't work, right? And I'm still trying to go that way, and I come back up, and I luckily end up in a guillotine position. And now I'm in the guard, right? Like here with my hips, my legs around his hips. This is actually a neutral position in a grappling sport where there's no strikes, right? Because I actually have a lot of leverage with those legs, and I can attack him in ways you're gonna see. So here he's actually trying to sit up and stand up. And now here I'll go for a sweep. I go for the sweep, but he has good base and good posture. But notice how his left arm is all the way up in my collar, right? And this is a red flag. As soon as someone puts that arm out there, they're asking to get armbarred, right? So as soon as he puts it there, I switch from my sweeping ideas, and I secure the arm, grab that shoulder, and move for an armbar. And he's too late to readjust, and I catch the armbar. So that was the first match of the day, and ended up in 35 seconds, which is really lucky because the next two fights were quite... This one was a little harder, but the last fight was actually a really, really hard one. So here we're grip fighting. He rips my first grip, and I managed to establish that opposite same side collar. And I almost take him down with that takedown that I've been drilling, but he manages to just base out a little bit. Now here I sit out and I reverse the position. Because he committed to that grip, he ended up on bottom. Normally he would just end up on turtle, but this time, you know, he committed to that grip. Here the referee's giving me 2 points, I think, for the pass. I'm not too sure what he was giving. Maybe the takedown, I'm not sure. And here I take the back. He's waiting to give me points for the back take. The back take is probably one of the best positions to be in on bottom, well, in any situation, because all my power is directed towards him, right? Like my arms and my legs are directed in his direction, whereas his power is directed away from me. So I see here I'm working this neck. I'm trying to get my arm up higher into the collar to try to establish a choke, but he's doing a good job defending that arm, and I feel like it's not quite deep enough on the collar to get the choke right. So I'm trying to strip his grips away and just trying to work my hand deeper. I try to go for the opposite side, but he has a pretty good defense. And look here, let me just back up a little bit. Here, you notice that I have his arm caught up with my left hand, and I use my left foot. I do it again, right? So I'm pushing his arm down. I try to go for it, but he managed to take the grip away. I do it again. I break that grip with my left arm. You notice how I push it down, boom, and I trap it with a leg. And now I have two hands on his neck, and he only has one arm to defend. So I should have really finished here, but he was doing a really good job defending. And in the future, I need to work on finishing from this position, because there's no way I should be losing the fight on his neck when he only has one arm to defend. So here I have the grip. I'm trying to work the choke, but it wasn't quite happening. He turns into me, and at this point, he kind of escaped that choke situation. And here I'm being sneaky. I notice his arms are coming out and kind of pushing against me. So that means that there's space around his neck area for me to set up my choke. So my left arm's going to go around his neck. And this is a setup I do all the time. You notice that that hand kind of sneaks in under his head. He feels like I'm just holding it there for base. But really, as soon as I get my arm free, I grab my own sleeve and I put this arm deep under his chin. And that's going to secure the choke. And you notice now he's getting choked and he taps. And that's the tap right there. So that's the second submission. And that secured the final for me. So from this point on, I knew I had the final. And I knew I was up against a really tough guy. This guy also submitted all his opponents that night, that day. So I go for that same takedown I was drilling, but it's really unsuccessful. I tried to do the sit-out I did earlier, but he all of a sudden goes around and he's basically trying to set up an inverted triangle here, which is the same thing that he finished my dad with. My dad also competed in the same division, which is crazy. We'll get to that at the end. And he ended up finishing my dad, but so I knew this was a strong suit, so I was trying to get my arm back in. You see this arm, I was trying to get it back in. I was playing pure defense here, and he's almost taking the back, and he should have really taken the back there, but he was still trying to get that choke, and I'm just pulling with this right arm here. I'm pulling him into me to try to get him to slide around and end up in that neutral guard position. So here I was actually pretty scared. He was on my neck, and I think you can see that choke happening there, and I'm really thinking he's gonna choke me out. And at this point, I think I start choking him so that he releases the pressure. You should never really attack from this position where he has his legs around your hips. But I felt like I needed to just kind of get him thinking about something else. So I start playing with his neck, and he lets go of the choke, which is exactly what I wanted. And at this point, I'm still not safe, because you see my left arm is underneath my body, and it's actually trapped underneath. So he actually has a lot of attacking opportunities based on the fact that my arm is not free to move, and I finally get it out. So he didn't capitalize on that advantage he had there, so I managed to escape. Now here I break the grip. You see that grip break, and I'm trying to establish a neutral position, trying to work my grips, and here I'm like trying to get out of there. I can tell he's really dangerous in the guard, really trying to work my sweeps. And here my passes, and here you can see I got past the legs, I got to a dominant position, and the memory card cut off, and so there's like a 5-second lapse of video here, but we ended up back in guard. So he was really good at re-guarding and putting you back in that position that he was really good at. So this guy was actually really, really sharp and really, really good. And here you can see he's trying to set up a choke again with the collar. He's trying to set up a cross-collar choke. And at this point, I know that if I sit in his guard, he's going to just keep attacking and keep attacking and keep attacking, and I'm not going to have time to work my offense, right? And if you're defending, you're not going to end up winning, right? So if all you're doing is defending, it's not going to work. So even in a neutral position, I start choking him from inside his own guard. And I know, remember the first match where I won by armbar? This is the prime time for him to armbar me, right? And I know that, right? So I'm waiting for him to start setting up grips on my arm, so that as soon as he tries to set up grips on my arm, I pull it out, right? So I wasn't committing to it, but I was making him think about his neck. But he ended up not committing to those grips. So you can see here, I choke him and he opens up his guard, and that's all I needed. So instead of armbarring me, he opened up his guard to release the pressure, which is actually what I wanted him to do. Here I step over the legs and I end up in a half guard position with this far underhook, which is exactly what I want him to give me. And somehow, even though I have the underhook and the cross face, which is my shoulder across his face, he still manages to put me back in guard. So this guy was actually really, really good at setting up the positions that he's good at. You notice he gets his arms back, and now he goes for another attack. So every time I end up in this guy's guard, he's attacking me. You can see his leg go over my face, and that is actually called an omoplata. You can see that if he extends his legs right now, it's going to twist my arm away towards my back, and it's called an omoplata. It's actually a shoulder lock. It puts pressure on the shoulder. So if I allow him to sit up here, that's when the lock happens, right? So I decide instead, there's a couple things you can do to defend, but I decide I'm going to put this leg over his face, right? So that's what I decide to do. I go over his face, boom, and that stops the whole situation from happening, and I manage to get my arm out again. And here we end up in this neutral position where neither of us want to be here, because there's no attacks from any situation. I can't attack from the top. He can't attack from the bottom. It's just a stalemate situation. So I try to break open and kind of turn to face him. And here I think he started feeling the fatigue from attacking me for that whole time, right? He's really starting to feel fatigued, and I work this kind of sprawl pass on him and try to stabilize. I almost gave him the guard again because I didn't use an underhook, which I should have, but I used this overhook situation to kind of flatten him out here. You notice I flatten him out and I hold him in this north-south position. And here I know I can hold him. I know I am strong here, so I know I can just maintain this until he tires out. He turns to turtle, and here I'm trying to get a guillotine choke, which is kind of a choke underneath the chin. And he seems to defend it pretty well, and I'm not really having much success, so I know, okay, screw that, I'm going to turn to go to take his back. And that was the same position that I got in that second match. Now, once I got to this position and got this bottom hook in, I knew I had him, right? The bottom hook is what was important here because that's what controls his hips from turning into me, right? The way to escape this position is to turn his left shoulder and put it on the mat. But if his hips are locked in place by his bottom hook, he cannot do that. So here, although it's not a complete back take, you can see the ref hasn't actually given me points yet. I know I have the control. So here I'm trying to put this top hook in, this top leg, trying to put it around his hips to get the points for the back. This is actually not considered the back yet, but it is basically the back. I mean, I even prefer this position to actually having both hooks in. So here I'm trying to get him to think about his neck. See how my hand is going closer and closer. I look at the ref. He gives me the points for the back, and now we're working the chokes. And I think I already had a pretty good grip. He allowed me too far in on his neck. And here I start to work the choke. And he's trying to turn into me, but the choke's too tight. I think about going for a bow and arrow, which is kind of pulling on the knees, but I realized I didn't need it. I collapsed him and just finished the choke right there. He got the tap. And, oh man, that felt so good. I was so tired. I could barely see. Honestly, my vision was double. I had double vision after that match. I was exhausted. And that was the final match. That's where I won the gold. Very, very, very tough opponent. Hopefully we get to see each other again, maybe when he gets his purple belt. Now, special mentions goes to my dad. Check out this takedown, right? So this is the first match of the day. Actually, it was before my match, and this is my dad right here in blue. Okay, same division. He cut like 5 kgs or 4 kgs to be in my division. Very bad idea. He ended up being super tired. He won 2 matches and lost 2 matches, so he actually didn't do well. Didn't do badly. But he lost the crucial match that would have put him in the final with me, which would have been really cool. Like going up against each other in the final would have been awesome. So here was the first match he had, and check out this takedown, right? So he establishes the grips. Let me just take down the volume a little bit. Establishes the grips. He gets the right grip on the left side. Boom! Straight to mount. I mean, ended up in half guard, but still. How cool is that? Ended up passing and getting north-south. He just dominated that whole match. That's a whole other thing for another time, but let's just play that again. Let's just play that again one more time. Same side collar grip. Collar dragon trip. Boom! Oh my god, this is beautiful. I couldn't get a single takedown the whole time, and he just hits that. Oof. It was actually a bigger bracket than I'm used to. Usually at this skill level and at this weight class, there's only like a couple, like sometimes like I remember the nationals, there was only 4 people in my category, which was really strange. But it seems like the sport's growing, especially in New Zealand, and it's getting more and more difficult. So these guys are getting really good. So now at the nationals, I'll be competing at purple belt. It's a whole different level, a whole different beast that I have to tame. So that should be pretty fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little commentary over my matches. I hope you found it interesting, even if you don't do jiu-jitsu, if you don't know anything about it. I hope you kind of learned something. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.